Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. I just decided to come on, sort of a last minute thing, but I wanted to talk to you about something. And I totally appreciate you guys joining me. I know there's a million other things you could be doing right now, but you chose to spend these couple minutes with me, and I love that. I love you guys. So I just want you to know that I totally appreciate that. Today, we're going to be talking about how to be afraid. And there's a reason I word things like that, is because sometimes we have to discover what we don't want in order to discover what we do want. And we do this all the time anyway. Let's say you lose your keys, you lose your phone, and you begin to look for it. And what you're doing is you're discovering all the places that these things aren't, and you can go through a process of elimination and then sometimes by accident discover where these things are. Yeah, so we do it automatically anyway, we just don't always know what we're doing. And the most important part of that is that we're actually looking for those things. We're taking action, we're creating motion, and that's important. Now, what we do with things, we can also do with ourselves. So to discover who we are, we sometimes have to discover who we are not. In order to discover our purpose and our passions, we sometimes have to discover those things that aren't our purpose and aren't our passions. And by doing that, we will accidentally then discover who we are, and we will discover what our purpose and what our passions are. The same is true with being afraid. In order to discover how to not be afraid, we have to discover what makes us afraid and why we become afraid. And this is a process that I take all of my, the people that I coach, I take them through this process because I believe that it's really, really key in a real discovery sort of way. So how to be afraid is what we're going to talk about. And by doing so, we can discover how not to be afraid. You see, fear, we all have fears of different kinds. It's a fear of failure, a fear of heights, a fear of roller coasters, of clowns, of any number of things. We all have to deal with those fears, but it's in the processing. You see, the fear really is at part of our limiting beliefs, those things that we tell ourselves, convince ourselves of, those things that are really holding us back from accomplishing the things that we want to accomplish. And it all comes back to fear. The great thing is that we can control our fears. If we can control our fears, we can change our fears. And if we can change our fears, we can eliminate those fears. So control the fears, change the fears, eliminate the fears, which will then in turn eliminate the limiting beliefs and get us moving. All right, so now about fear. There's something really, really great about fear. See, fear is processed in the limbic system of the brain. This is the part of the brain that when we experience a stimulus, it goes through these sort of processes and it pulls out our past history, our belief system, and it sort of filters through all of that. And what we end up with is an emotional response of fear. Now, physiologically, fear is exactly the same as excitement. Now, this is the key. This is the loophole to get out of fear, because the response from our physical response from fear is sweaty palms, our pupils dilate, our heartbeat races, which is exactly the same as excitement. The only difference is our perception of the stimuli. We're allowing all of that past history, we're allowing our belief system to process it all as fear instead of excitement. Think of a roller coaster. Some people are very, very excited to get on a roller coaster. Some people are fearful of getting on a roller coaster. I hate roller coasters. I hate them with a passion, because every time you mention roller coaster, my primitive old-fashioned brain starts to think of every negative thing that can happen once I get on that roller coaster. I'm going to crash, it's going to break, it's going to collapse, I'm going to get ill, the guy sitting next to me is going to get ill. All of that thing starts processing in my brain, and it turns out as fear and anxiety about roller coasters. I have friends and family who absolutely love roller coasters. They'll ride every roller coaster they see, and they'll ask me to ride it with them. The reason they love it and I can't stand it is because they process it differently. And what the end result is, for them is excitement. For me, it's fear. Now, when they ask me to ride with them, will I? Yeah, sure I will. Because I have a pretty good control over how my fears are processed. I have no problem sitting and watching other people ride a roller coaster. I'm happy to do that all day long. And probably wouldn't ride one on my own, except when somebody close to me asks me to join them, and then I will. Here's the crazy thing about it. I will probably ride it more than once. Because once I've ridden it, I've found that those things that I was processing as fears are completely unfounded. And what I was really experiencing was an excitement. I was just letting my preconceived notions control my thought processes and process that as fear as opposed to excitement in the beginning. So here's one of the tricks to flip that switch from fear to excitement. Researchers show that if you can verbalize your excitement, you can actually start to flip that switch. So by saying, I'm excited, or this excites me, your brain is going to start processing the excitement route, and the preconceived notions, the belief system, your past experiences that you had been processing with fear are going to start to be filtered out because your brain is already in excitement mode. So people who are afraid to speak in public will verbalize, I'm excited, this is exciting, and then are able to go up and speak. Now, the trick to this is just like any of my other tools, techniques that I give you guys, this takes practice, it takes time. We've spent an entire lifetime processing our fears as fears. So that muscle is in good shape and it works automatically and it works very, very quickly. In order to process differently, we have to start exercising a different set of muscles. So it takes time. You're not going to bench press 1,000 pounds overnight. You're going to have to work at it and keep working at it. The more you do it, the easier it's going to become. So verbalize, I am excited. And that's going to start changing the way the brain processes things. There's a word for this. It's called prepared fear. So if you're going to experience something that you know frightens you, just say to yourself, this is going to be exciting, this is going to be exciting. You can prepare for that, and your brain will then go into a reward system and reward you for processing as excitement as opposed to processing fear. So if you're going to go into a haunted house, maybe you did that over Halloween, you know it's going to be scary, you prepare yourself for it, this is going to be exciting, this is going to be exciting, ooh, it's so exciting. And you go through it, you know you're going to be safe, you know you're going to come out the exit, and it's all going to be good. That's a prepared excitement, or prepared fear. Now what about the unprepared fears? Research shows that if you still verbalize during an unprepared fear moment, you can still start to make that switch. So you're laying in your bed at night and suddenly you get one of those things that go bump in the night, footsteps down the hallway, whatever it is. Instead of being afraid, you think, this is exciting. And then you process everything different. Your physiological response, your physical response is going to be the same as if it's fear. Let's say that it's something like, I don't know, you're in an airplane and you feel that big turbulence and everybody clutches their seats and starts to go white in the face. Just turn to the person next to you and say, oh, this is exciting. Now, a couple things are going to happen. Number one, you're going to be less fearful and start to go into excitement. You might be able to help them get out of their fear and start to go to excitement just from them hearing it and seeing you. And you might get punched in the mouth, or any combination of those three things could happen. But either way, it's controlling those fears. Remember, you control your fears, you can change your fears. If you can change your fears, you can eliminate your fears. You eliminate the fears, you eliminate the limiting beliefs. Now, there's a caveat to all of this. Just because you are no longer afraid to do something doesn't mean that you should still do it. Don't confuse being afraid with being smart. Jumping off the house, oh, this is exciting. Yeah, but I'm not going to do it. So process those things. Let your brain be used by you. And I say it that way on purpose because our old primitive fight or flight brains are going to try to use us. That's what they've always done. That's where fight or flight comes from. Use your brain. Don't let your brain use you. You're going to run this show not from your brain, but from your heart and soul. This is what's going to drive you. Use your brain. Be smart about it. Use common sense, but drive this whole train from here. And you've got this. This is going to be the easiest thing for you to do. The next time you're fearful of something, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter. Verbalize. This is exciting. So if you need any help with that, reach out to me. Some things I know you're going to say, well, I'm fearful of this, but there's no way I can change this. Reach out. There is a way to change it. So be smart, be strong, be brave. You got this. You guys are amazing. All right. That's all I've got for you today. I hope you have a really awesome rest of your weekend, and I will see you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.